all of it, but at least part of what he's dishing out is taken as fact, as gospel for so many on the right, those folks who are watching Newsmax, who are on OAN, who are on the right-wing message boards, who are on Facebook, whatever it might be. And aren't we seeing the real-world consequences of that? Isn't this, this is the same theory, the amplification of the big lie, that has led to the challenge by Republican state legislatures across the country on voting rights, on restricting access to the ballot? Isn't that the real-world reality of this, the real-world implications of this? And isn't that why this has to get taken seriously?
Well, that's absolutely the danger, and it's happening. I mean, what's happening is that these Republican state legislatures are essentially assuming the power for themselves to overturn election results. Full stop, and election results they don't like. And so we are absolutely right to be gravely concerned about what could happen in the next election or the next couple of elections. But you know, I have a question for Ann. I mean, you know, on the one hand, this is deadly serious and important. On the other hand, he is a sideshow and a clown and a lunatic. I mean, he believes stuff that simply is not true. And so where is that common ground? Where is the entry point, the place where you can talk about stuff that you might agree about and then proceed to chip away at this bizarre and untrue belief system that he sincerely has. What did you find anything that you could talk to him about on which he made sense?
Funny enough, I asked him how he runs his company. I was trying to get him to talk about what his business is like, and he talked a little bit about how he gives everybody at his company his email, and anybody can talk. I mean, and actually, when we went on to something a little bit more practical and pragmatic, that wasn't to do with politics, where he's, I mean, as you say, some of it's really insane. You know, everybody is a Chinese communist, and there's a kind of conspiracy of Chinese communism inside the Republican Party, and so on. But when you got him to talk about his business, he was a little bit more rational, and you could imagine him being a good boss and people liking him. I mean, he's a sort of affable guy. And it may be that it's through some kind of conversation about that you could get to him or to people like him. You could say, well, look, you know, do you want your business to collapse? I mean, you know, look at the amount of money you're spending on this stuff. I mean, that's nuts. And look at the people who work for you, and do you really want them to suffer from? I mean, you know, I'm just making this up now, but I mean, if you took someone like that or someone who has those kinds of views and you try and push them in a pragmatic direction and away from the culture wars and away from the craziness, we might be able to have a different kind of conversation. That's anyway, I mean, that's the lesson. If you look around the world, if you look at places where there's been real violence, you go look at Northern Ireland or places where there have been civil wars, very often people find that the way to get people to cooperate again is not by talking about whatever it was that caused the Civil War, but how we can move forward in the future, what roads we can build, and so on. I mean, it's not a perfect analogy, but it's the best one that I've come up with. And it may be, you know, and it may not work with Lindell because he's so far gone in this Supreme Court 9-0 vote direction, but it may fit with other people that you all know, people that Joe knows. That kind of conversation could be more useful.
Yeah, Donny Joy.